Welcome back, Loaded Slate Sports Podcast. My name is Ashton Rodebeck.
Ryan Chapko.
I'm Jack Norman, y'all.
You know, it's April 24th, 2023, and we have an absolutely loaded episode to share with you guys. NBA playoffs, first round heating up. You know, we'll have some, preview to the NFL draft analysis for you guys as well this episode. That comes on Thursday of this week, and we're all very excited for that. NBA playoffs, man. I feel like, we should definitely open it up by mentioning that the Sixers have swept the Nets. You know, that's the only team to have advanced so far.
Revamped Nets.
The only team to get swept so far,
Yeah.
the Brooklyn Nets, that is. But, I mean, they're just facing a more challenging opponent. I mean, the Sixers are a really talented squad. But I think the biggest news out of that Sixers series really is, the health and the status of Joel Embiid. Because I've heard that there's reports of him potentially not being at 100%, maybe missing a couple games in the next series against what looks like is going to be the Boston Celtics right now. And they're going to have their hands full if that's the case. I think the Sixers are.
Yeah, a lot of star injuries so far in the playoffs.
Sucks to see.
I mean, definitely sucks, but I think playoffs been absolutely phenomenal so far. I mean, I couldn't ask for any more for some of these games. I mean, it's always the best time of year for playoff
Definitely,
basketball.
it is. It is.
When those load managers just, they finally decide to play, but it's finally good to see. Clippers are headed down a weird path, so.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, Kawhi, obviously not being in the lineup for them, has given the Suns a chance to take over the series.
They have taken over this
and
series.
they completely have done just that.
It's over.
It's 3-1 at this point. No timetable on Kawhi's return. Looking pretty bleak for the Clippers.
PG, he's out as well too. Norman Powell and Russ, they've been stepping up big time, but 3 straight losses here for the Clippers, so it's not looking good. I think they play again tomorrow, which will be game 5 of that series, so it's looking like it's going to be all Suns here. It's kind of looking like they're going to advance. I don't know, it sucks to see again for the Clippers. Just they cannot stay healthy at all.
They just can't have they can't have anything nice in this world, man.
No,
it's kind of blows.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them in the offseason. Is Jerry West going to blow this thing up? Are they going to try to run it back one more time? I think Kawhi, they got 1 year left in their deals each. So
I feel like
how's it going to go?
If they were really in their spot, I feel like just give it probably one more shot.
You got no
choice. And then
yeah,
I mean, it's very unfortunate, but I mean, I just feel like as long as you have Kawhi, you should be competitive. You know what I mean? If he can stay fully healthy and give you everything he's got, so.
If that's the big question. But I mean, the Suns. I mean, they look every part to be a title contender. I mean, they've really rebounded nicely after those first kind of close games, the competitive games with the Clippers.
And I think KD's health is really what it comes down to. I mean, him being in and out of the lineup for seems like the past couple of years. I feel like he played literally half the time, but when he does, I mean, it just adds just such a different dynamic to the Suns roster, and I mean, they're all the way in. So I'm interested to see how their run carries. I mean, I don't think their bench that deep, but
no, they're definitely not.
It's their star power's got to carry them through.
I think that'd be the one weakness for the Suns if they were to run into a super deep team like this, like the Nuggets or someone like that in the West, or the Celtics in the finals potentially. I think their depth could come into question, but they got the star power and the front line to run with anybody in the league, with Book and CP, Ayton, and those guys that they got. And Suns are going to be a dangerous team too. I mean, they're looking every part of the title contender.
Most definitely. I mean, yeah, no doubt. Another series that has kind of been the most entertaining out of the bunch here. The Warriors and the Kings. That's even up at 2.
The Kings have been given everything that the Warriors are getting everything they can handle right now with this young, up and coming Kings team here.
I was surprised that they suspended Draymond for that.
It was probably warranted.
I mean, yeah, stomped on his.
Yeah, it's probably warranted. But I don't know. He's came back. The Warriors have gotten 2 straight wins now. I mean, this last game, I think yesterday was a pretty close game. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, he's been balling now all season. He's been balling all playoffs. I mean, I saw a stat where he was amongst the most elite players to have 30-point game in their first playoff game or something like that.
And wasn't he just listed hurt for the next game?
Yeah, I saw that.
Isn't he questionable?
He is questionable.
I can't remember what happened to him, bro.
I know. I don't remember what it was but I did see a report. I think it was from Woj or one of those guys on Twitter saying that he's going to be questionable for this next game.
Fractured index finger, doubtful for Game 5.
Doubtful. He's playing.
Yeah,
they're going to wrap his shit up. They're going to give him the Tyrod Taylor in the hand. They're going to give him.
Yeah, he's playing, bro.
It's going to be a big game, too. Back at Sacramento, so they got that home court advantage, but I feel like this Warriors team, they're due for a big-time win on the road. I just feel like.
I mean, they proved that they're one of the best at home.
Yeah.
I mean, still, I'm just generally not surprised. I mean, I thought it was really good that the Kings got out to that really fast start, especially at home. But, I mean, I kind of expected this. I felt like the Warriors, like, going back home and being so bad as they are on the road. I mean,
they're going to have to steal one, though, man.
I think they just got to steal one, and I think this is the time to do it. You can take a 3-2 series lead going back to Chase Center, and that'd be huge for them. But if they can get it done, that's the question.
That'd be the best case situation.
Exactly.
For
They're gonna need their bench players to really step up on their own. Like JP, Moses Moody, Kuminga, those guys. They need them to some bench production. I think Gary Payton the second too.
Is he finally back on the court
after
he was
hooping.
injury?
Oh yeah, he was hooping last game. I saw him out there.
That's good to see him back on the court because he's one of the better defensive guys.
Glue guy, like Josh Hart.
Don't know why the Warriors really ever got rid of him.
Hey, somehow they got him back.
Knicks, so.
I don't think they could have re-signed him. I think he was wanting that cash. But anyway, the Warriors 2-2 series right now. I think they play again tomorrow, so it's going to be entertaining down the stretch. It could potentially go to 7. I think the Warriors will wrap this thing up in like 6 games.
I agree.
I think they're coming.
They got to steal that.
This next
game 5 on the road.
I think this game 5 is critical for them.
I think I could see the Kings taking one more. I mean, I don't know. I feel like what the Warriors really still lack is like a presence down low, and I feel like Sabonis, just being like the guy he is and the passer that he is, especially for a big guy. I mean, I feel like he's just gonna take it down low on Kevon Looney or whoever.
He has been all series pretty much. Last game they were pounding it inside, but yeah, I mean that's gonna be entertaining down the stretch. I wouldn't suggest missing that. And, another series really that kind of has surprised us is the Knicks absolutely jumping in the Cavs' ass here. They're up 3-1 right now. I mean, they pretty much dominated this series.
Yeah.
Outside of that one game in Cleveland. I mean, the Knicks, they've been super impressive. Jalen Brunson, we were talking on the way here, how the Mavs didn't re-sign Jalen Brunson, and they're kind of probably having some buyer's remorse right now, seeing what he's doing. And his contract kind of now looks like a bargain the way he's been playing in these playoffs.
Yeah, he's a baller, man. It was kind of, like you said, upsetting for the Mavericks letting him go, man. I mean, that was Luka's probably best partner he had there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just leading the Knicks past the Cavs in this series, man, completely proving us wrong. We were huge on Darius Garland and the Cavs, and they just have not been the same
I just feel like
the
floor spacing is really, I feel like what this series has really came down to, because I feel like the Knicks definitely have a lot of guys that can shoot the ball and, like, shoot them at a decent clip, and I feel like the Cavs just having that too big lineup, and the floor spacing is just not really there. But I feel like with Brunson, I feel like the floor is just totally opened up for the Knicks. I mean, just such a threat. I mean, they literally didn't have what seemed to be like a good point guard for like a decade plus, like an actual guy that could score the ball like 20 plus and dish the ball out. But it's been great to see. I mean, Reynolds had a very good year as well. So I mean, it's really good to see them thrive. But I don't know where the Knicks really go from here. I mean, are they true?
They're going to the next round.
Because I feel like there's like 6 teams in the East that look.
If you kind of look over the bracket too, I mean Miami's up on Milwaukee here too. So I mean the Knicks could be like a true Cinderella here, but the Cavs. I want to touch on Donovan Mitchell here because where has he been in these playoffs? 5 for 18, 11 points this last game. I mean, this guy was averaging like 40-point games. He had a 57-point game one time in the playoffs too. I mean, where's that Donovan Mitchell at? Because I mean, like we've seen him be so dynamic and like play like one of the best guards in the league at times, and it's just kind of surprising, really, that he hasn't stepped up considering how good of a playoff performer he is. It's just been super odd to see.
Honestly, bro, it's the MSG effect, dude. That stadium is rompous as hell. Those Knicks fans know how to get after it and get involved in the game, and it shows.
That is facts. That is facts. I mean, like you were saying, Ryan, Cavs 26% from 3 last game. The floor spacing is atrocious.
And they give Shetty Osman minutes, and I don't think he's even like an NBA player, barely. So, I mean, I'm not very surprised. I mean, I feel like I've been seeing rumors that like maybe JB Bickerstaff isn't supposedly going to return to the Cavs next year, like if they fizzle on the playoffs. But they said like maybe Nick Nurse is on the Cavs radar or something like that.
That'd be interesting.
And I mean, I felt like Udoka, the Cavs opened up too. I felt like Udoka would have gone. I thought Udoka was going to go to like the Raptors or something, or like the Cavs, or just a team that actually had good players. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Cavs do, especially
Definitely.
if it does go south.
Definitely. And I mean, this series, I mean, who knows? It could be far from over. Donovan Mitchell's the guy who's come back from many 3-1 leads.
I expected more out of Evan Mobley. I'm not going to lie.
And there's still time. 3-1. I mean, we haven't seen. I feel like every playoffs there's a team that comes back from down 3-1 at some point. So is it going to be this series? We'll see. I wouldn't count Donovan Mitchell out, but it's not looking great right now for them. But there's still time. Not a ton of time, but there's still some time.
Another series, like you mentioned a little bit, the Heat and the Giannis-less Bucks here, man. Giannis actually, he comes back
For
tonight,
game 4.
right?
Yep,
Yeah,
he's
so-
for game
From his
4.
back injury.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting.
So the Heat are up 2-1.
Yeah, they've been able to capitalize off a, like I said, Giannis-less roster there.
Jimmy Buckets is again doing what Jimmy Butler does in the playoffs. He gets buckets. I mean,
Hey, Duncan
Yeah,
Robinson
yeah.
had a huge game last game too. He
I
had
saw
like
that,
26
too.
points. About time. He
he's-
was like
he had his first good game of the year.
he was
I'm
pretty
happy.
much like unplayable. Like for the majority of the year, it seemed like Max Strus was kind of taking Duncan Robinson's minutes, but it's great to see him finally get back to the guy that we've all seen that he can be. But I don't know I think the Heat they're still playing at their place tonight, so the Bucks got to go to them. But I don't know. I wouldn't count out this Bucks team though. They're so talented. They got that championship pedigree with all those guys in that squad winning that chip a couple years ago.
I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, I still favor the Bucks to like go to the finals if they can get past this round. I mean, like fully healthy, they're one of the hardest teams to beat in the league for sure. So
I think Giannis is just that much of a difference maker that his
Yeah.
presence alone is going to propel them past the Heat in this round, man. Obviously, they fall down early, but getting him back here in Game 4 is massive. So I agree. I think the Bucks will close it out, barring any further injuries for Giannis. But
Yeah, I also don't want to count out the Heat too, because they've kind of been a thorn in the Bucks' side these last couple of years. I mean, obviously they're Miami Heat when they went to the finals a couple years ago. They beat the Bucks in 4 games or something like that in the first round. So I mean, this Heat team, they got experience, playing this Bucks team. But I don't know. I like the Bucks here. Get this thing done
definitely.
for sure.
So that leaves us only one more series here, and it's the Grizzlies versus Lakers.
Motherfucker,
the,
really?
the Lakers won Game 3. I mean, at one point had a dominating first quarter lead. I mean,
It's
They were
ridiculous.
up 39-9 in the
I mean-
first quarter.
And this comes after Dylan Brooks was running his mouth about LeBron James, and I mean, it just it's corny,
It's
bro.
like the
Dylan-
last
Dylan
guy you
Brooks
want to talk
supposedly-
shit to, man.
kicked them
Bro.
in the nuts. So I mean,
I don't know. I have a weird opinion about this Grizzlies team, man. They used to feel so exciting to watch to me, bro. They were easy to root for and all that shit, but now it's just.
I had a great. I think it
It's
was.
gone.
I think it was like Charles Barkley. He said the reason no one likes the Knicks is because or not the Knicks, the Grizzlies is because they're front runners and they talk a lot of trash when they're winning, but then they don't say anything when they're losing. I mean,
Exactly.
it's just kind of all bark no
But
bite.
I mean, when Ja first came into the league and this team, they weren't confident enough to actually
Exactly.
have
They
that
were just-
arc. They were easy to root for, but now it's
they're doing their dances and
Yeah,
shit
it's
after
corny.
the game on the court.
it's corny.
It's ridiculous.
And I'm certainly not a LeBron guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I hope they end it as soon as possible, man.
I do
Put them out
too.
of their misery.
I do too, because it just gets a little old after
It
a while.
does.
I mean, last year when they were playing the Warriors, it was the same shenanigans that they were doing during the game. It gets a little old. I came here for the basketball. That's
Right.
all extracurricular junk I don't really care about. But I mean, it's entertaining. I mean, the NBA media will eat that shit up like it's filet mignon. But I mean, I don't know. I'm here for the hoops, man.
Oh, of course. It's just I don't know. I don't know. It makes it hard to root for that team.
Yeah.
When all that shit's happening on the side. I like the Lakers to close out this series in
AD
dominating fashion.
AD's been phenomenal. I mean, really, his health has been really just the crucial swing for the Lakers season of these past couple years. I mean, I feel like if you had a healthy AD this whole time, I mean, this Lakers team would have been a force all along. But
You know who's been hooping during these playoffs? Rui Hachimura. He's been averaging 23 points during these playoffs. for the Lakers.
potentially getting a second contract. I think he's on the market after this year. So.
Austin Reeves,
And
bro.
Rod Reeves too. Those two
Yeah.
guys, they're so unheralded for the Lakers. Obviously, they got the star talent. They get all the headlines in LA. But those two guys are the engine, or the gas that makes the whole engine run. Man, they do everything
for sure.
little for their team.
I mean, Game 3, I just felt like supposedly Jaren Jackson got in foul trouble early, and I feel like the thing with the Grizzlies, I mean, they have Xavier Tillman, they have Steven Adams, but I mean,
Adam's been injured.
yes, Adams. So I mean, it's really just Tillman been stepping up, for the
Michigan
backup.
State guys.
Yeah, so I mean, I just think AD's just been too much. I mean, Jaren Jackson's. I mean, credit to him for winning Defensive Player of the Year, but I mean, when you get in foul trouble, it just becomes that much more dangerous. I mean, I've always been kind of like, not like the biggest fan of the Grizzlies squad, but I really like the supporting cast they got. Like, I really like Desmond Bane as like a third option guy. And a guy that can give buckets.
He's been awesome.
I mean, say what you want about John Morant. John Morant's played phenomenal in Game 3. I mean, scoring like, 45 points?
Yeah, he was the only guy that showed up that game, honestly. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, kind of goes back to what we were saying when we previewed these playoffs. Like, who's going to guard LeBron?
Right.
We haven't had anybody that's been able to guard LeBron. Really.
Definitely not Dylan Brooks.
Definitely not D. Brooks. But I like D. Brooks. But, I mean, this is LeBron James and AD we're talking about. Two of the greatest players in the league right now. They're a different animal. I mean, it's tough for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
This Grizzlies team is they're a little ways away from actually being on the Lakers.
They're like a star or two away.
Yeah.
I think they got some retooling to do.
I don't think they're good enough to be talking the way they are, low key. But yeah, no.
That's what it is.
Yeah. We mentioned earlier, they were like getting embarrassed early in that game.
They were.
It was like 35-9.
They were getting deep hands. They got deep hands early in that game,
yeah.
early and often. They go back to the Memphis tonight, I think. So it will be interesting to see how that game.
They're still at LA. It's 2-1 right now. So Game 4.
It is 2-1. Oh, that's right. I thought it was 3-1. It's 2-1. So we're at Staples tonight or Crypto Center. So yeah, Game 4.
Mm-hmm. That game's at 10 o'clock. Lakers laying 4.5.
And then
hammering Lakers.
Did we talk about the Celtics Hawks?
Shoot, forgot about that.
Yeah, no,
the Celtics Hawks.
I
mean,
forgot about
supposedly Game 4, DeJounte Murray is out. I mean, I didn't really see the clip, but supposedly he hit an official.
Yeah, he did a little bit. Gave him like a little bit of like a shoulder shove, kind of like that at the end of the game. I don't really know what he was mad about.
Supposedly, I heard Tatum did too, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining about that. But I mean, big blow to the Hawks that have, stolen a game here, and going into Game 4, looking to potentially like tie up the series. So I mean, I thought that was definitely.
It's 3-1.
It's 3-1.
3-1.
Yes. Not 2-1. Okay,
yeah, I think it's going back to Boston too. I like Boston closing on Game 5. No DeJounte Murray. I'm just surprised they made like a couple of these like suspensions like in the playoffs. I mean, obviously it's warranted in like this for like shoving an official, but
it says he was suspended for making inappropriate contact and verbally abusing a referee.
I don't know. Adam Silver's soft. You know that. But I don't know. I don't want to discredit the Celtics here.
Right.
You've got the Boston jersey on for a reason. I mean, they've been phenomenal. Malcolm Brogdon was such an underrated pickup for them. He was.
And got him for such a good, seemingly good price.
Sixth man of the year, Malcolm Brogdon, that is. Mm-hmm. And he's been hooping. I mean, JT and JB, the Jays, they've been carrying their team all season. And Derek White's and Marcus Morris too, I should say.
I feel like this Boston team's just been in the Eastern Conference Finals for what seemingly feels like 4 or 5 years now. They just haven't gotten the job done.
I feel like this is a prime example for them to get over that hump, man. And like you just mentioned, their key pieces have been feeding their scorers, and it's what's helping.
They just have so much depth. Like they have their guys on their bench would start for most of
Derek White. Derek White's a very solid role player.
Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon, those guys would start for a lot of teams in the league, and they just have so much depth in their team. Grant Williams too is such a big defensive piece, and they got a lot of things going right for them. I really like them in the East.
For sure. Now that rounds out our first round review here. Some coaching stuff to talk about here. Rockets, man. Hire Ime Udoka. That's breaking news.
It is such a perfect fit for both sides. I mean,
yeah, it is.
I feel like I'm not very surprised. Like we were talking on the way over here. I mean, I feel like this Rockets franchise doesn't really
They just kind of let anything go. It seems like an Ime. They don't really. care.
But in terms of actual fit, there's so much talent in Houston. So getting a coach like this, just phenomenal in terms of the basketball sense, in terms of developing your young guys, and having one of the worst teams, and you have another potential top 3 pick on the way. So a lot to be excited about, and a lot of moves they can make this offseason, which potentially bring it back hard, and which is certainly a possibility. So
this team, Jabari Smith, KPJ, and Jalen Green. They got pieces to work with. Shane Goon too.
Don't forget Boban.
Boban too. Don't forget about him.
This is a great roster, man.
A young roster.
Yeah, very young, talented.
I mean, it's not like he's walking into an empty cupboard by any means.
Right.
So he's got some things to work with. He just kind of needs to be
Jacob, they got Jacob.
They got Ty Washington.
I mean, he kind of just needs to be the glue to bring the whole thing together. He needs to be like that architect. Maybe they'll bring in some vets in the offseason to go with a couple of these young guys, too. So, I mean, the Rockets are going to be an interesting team to watch in the offseason. Like you were saying, James Harden, potentially maybe going back, too. So, I mean, Houston's a free agent destination. People would be interested in playing in Houston, I feel like. I mean, there's a lot of
And someone also
nightlife going on.
Someone mentioned also Kyrie as a possibility for Houston, which
Oh,
would be
God.
very interesting.
Man,
Oh,
dude,
God.
I don't even know.
Oh, God. That'd be a perfect fit. All
all
the misfit toys coming together.
the Looney Tunes.
Exactly. All they need is Ben Simmons down there, and they'll complete it.
Oh my God.
And it'll be good.
That'd be a
to go.
fever dream, bro. I feel like that's, I don't know.
That's
That's a perfect fit.
Another, NBA topic I feel like we can cover. Nick Nurse has been fired from the Raptors.
This was such a surprising move.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like progressively every year after the 2019 season, and I mean Kawhi bringing the championship back to Toronto, I feel like it's progressively gotten worse. I don't think it's entirely been on him because I feel like the roster definitely had a lot of flaws. And
Definitely.
I mean, having your two best players being like your 3 and your 4, I mean, Scotty's still not that much of a shooting guy right now. I mean, not the best. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what they do with Van Vliet. I think Van Vliet would be a guy that would get a lot of interest, like around the league, maybe
Yeah.
like a contender. So,
Yeah, I heard a report that everybody was available for the Raptors except Scotty Barnes. So take that.
I mean, they
how
said
you will.
they were saying that they were going to trade OG or be really interesting in that, and then at the deadline they kind of flinched on that. So
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see if the Raptors go full out rebuild here or
So
what they do.
They got some dudes, man.
I mean, Jakob Poeltl's definitely a solid big guy.
yeah.
I mean,
And
I
Gary
was
Trent.
questioning why they really brought him back for the deadline, but I mean,
Pascal too.
yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see if potentially like they can move Spicy P in the offseason. I feel like he himself would get a lot of interest around the league. I don't know what an offer would potentially look like for him, but he's a guy that definitely has improved his game since that 2019 season. I mean, becoming such a force. I mean, from the mid range. And just such a good all-around player, but I'd be interested to see what teams would be maybe potentially interested in a swap for him.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and that
So just everyone in the roster, really.
I mean, they
got
said,
dudes.
I mean, everyone but Scotty,
They do got
right?
some dudes.
That's what the report said. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is. It could just be
Precious
smoke.
too. Yeah, they got a bunch of dudes.
Precious.
They got Ron Harper. Ron Harper's actually
What? He's in the league?
He's probably like on a two-way. Probably.
I bet he's on to it. They had Joe Wieskamp. That's great.
Wasn't Gabe Brown on like the Toronto Raptors like G League team or something like that? Or is he on
that
their
dude
summer
couldn't
league
play. That dude couldn't play for my church league, bro.
roster?
Yeah, but anyways, that puts Nick Nurse's name in the head coaching carousel. We'll see if anybody decides to pull the trigger and interview him coming up here. But
Yeah, and our Detroit Pistons actually they've narrowed their list down to three candidates for their head coaching job,
So,
right?
Overtime elite Kevin Ollie, former national title
It's a dog and pony show.
guy at UConn. I mean, he got fired from UConn for like what was it, recruiting violations back then. But he's a guy that's been definitely getting a lot of heat, like on social media and a lot of engagements. But there's a guy that we also really like, Charles Lee from Milwaukee. I mean, just a young, very good young mind, and probably the front runner right now. I mean, you'd ask a lot of Pistons fans, and then. There's one that came from the Warriors system, and supposedly he coordinated like the whole Warriors defense during like their title runs. But it's Jaron Collins. He was like a role player in the league for many years, but he's right now with Willie Green and with the Pels, and he's also one of the other candidates as well. That's kind of been like a sleeper candidate. I feel like that's kind of been slowly gaining traction, but I guess they're interviewing more guys, like whoever gets eliminated from the playoffs, and if more surprising coaches get on the market, they'll interview them as well. But I feel like this should be wrapped up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Should be wrapped up in a couple days. Troy,
exciting.
you got your guy. Get your guy.
Yeah. Troy's sleepwalking. At
I
the
thought-
moment,
Yeah,
so-
he is.
I
Wake
thought-
up, Troy.
I thought they were gonna go for like more guys with more like experience, but like I'm not against the young coach. I mean, if you think one's worthy of a shot, I mean, you give him a shot and see what you have to do.
Well, I mean, they've been sticking behind Dwayne Casey's old ass for the
Yeah,
past how
so
long
maybe
now?
that wasn't
I mean,
working
and
out, so
Stan
let's
Van
try
Gundy,
something
and
different.
yeah, SVG.
Let's go a different
But
way.
Steve
here.
Van
right?
Gundy, I feel like was like a better coach than Dwayne for sure. I mean,
he's a dumbass general manager.
100%. But that was more Ed Stefanski in like the help of SPG. But
I don't know, man. I'm just happy that that's over. Now let's get them on the right track here, Troy.
Let's do what we gotta do, man.
Yeah, they're certainly not, walking into an empty cabinet here, too, man. I mean, you got Cade Cunningham and Ivy, Duran. You guys got some dudes.
it definitely sucks. I
Yeah,
mean,
some
having
dudes.
all the cap space that the Pistons have now, I mean, it seemingly feels like a pretty weak free agency class. And something, I mean, it feels like another offseason you have to make, like, just a few veteran signings in free agency and really hope for the best with the lottery and see what you can do and probably facilitate a couple trade or two. But
We're gonna be right back in the lottery next season, boys.
who knows?
yeah.
Maybe potentially. I mean,
Get comfortable.
with their expectations next year, I think a seemingly
That's
goal
my
that
problem
I like
with
to see
Troy.
is
Troy
like the Thunder.
has no
I think
expectations.
the Thunder, like the leap that the Thunder taken, is something that they should make a goal for next season. I mean, like making the play-in. I mean, that's what everyone really wanted this season to be. But I mean, losing your star players never
Losing
good.
everybody on the entire roster.
I mean, you can't satisfy every fan every day. I mean, if you lose your star player, you're not going to win that many games on a
That's
roster
true.
that needs.
I mean, I'll give Dwayne I'll give him that benefit of the doubt that Kay didn't play. So, but I
Nobody
mean,
played.
that's true. Literally nobody played. But I don't know. I feel like it's best for the team's future to hire a young coach. So
I think so too.
yeah. Well, that pretty much summarizes our NBA.